This is definitely one of the most interesting small form factor PCs that I've seen in a long time. What we've got here is the all-new ASUS TUF T500. Earlier this year in 2025, January, I attended CES and I saw a version of this. For some reason, I'm thinking back in my head, I don't think it was a TUF version, but it was an ASUS version with a very similar setup here. There's a few things that make this unique, and we will go over it in just a bit. And yes, I do consider this small form factor. It's not a mini PC by any means, but as you can see, compared to one of my desktop PCs that I have here, it's coming in with a much smaller form factor. In this video, I've got quite a lot to cover, but before we get into it, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by URCD Keys. I've been using this site for quite some time now. They offer Steam keys, Uplay, Ubisoft, but the main thing I pick up over here are Windows 11 Pro keys. And right now, if you use code ETA, you can get 25% off. So at checkout, we'll just enter the code ETA. That's going to bring the price down to $22.88. They're going to email you that key, and then you can activate Windows. Speaking of that, let's head over to a new PC that I recently built. As you can see, we're running Windows 11, and from Settings, we're going to go to Activation Settings. It's going to tell us that we're not active. We don't have a key installed, so we're just going to paste it right in here, choose Next. It's going to activate Windows for us, and we're ready to go. If you're in need of cheap Windows keys, I'll leave a link in the description, and remember, you can use code ETA for 25% off. Moving back over to the T500, as you can see from the internals here, we do have a pretty custom heatsink, and that's because what makes this really interesting is this is actually using a mobile CPU. It's an i7-13620H, which does put down some really good performance, 10 cores, 16 threads, and when it comes to the graphics department, there's a few different options that you can get, but this has the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5060 Ti with 16 gigs of VRAM. It's actually the ASUS dual version. This system does utilize SODIMM RAM just like a laptop would, because after all, we've got that mobile CPU. This came pre-installed with 16 gigs running at 5200 megahertz, and we've got a 500 watt power supply here. It's actually an 80 plus platinum power supply. And since this is marketed as a gaming PC, we do have a little bit of RGB here up front, on the sides, as you can see. And when it comes to I/O, on the very front, we've got a 3.5mm audio jack, two full-size USB 3.2 ports, and USB-C up here. Around back, four USB 2.0 Type-A ports, gigabit Ethernet, 7.1 audio, so in and out. There's also an HDMI 1.4 port and DisplayPort 1.4, but obviously you'll get more displays out from the GPU. And as for the overall specs here, like I mentioned, we've got that Intel Core i7-13620H. It's a mobile part. We've got 10 cores, 16 threads, and it'll clock up to 4.9 gigahertz. 16 gigabytes of SODIMM DDR5 running at 5200 in this thing. The NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5060 Ti with 16 gigs of GDDR7. We've got a PCIe 4.0 M.2 2280 drive. You can add two SATA 6 gig drives in here. It's got Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, that 500 watt power supply, and this comes with Windows 11. Personally, I think the T500 does look really good, and with this unit, we do have a little bit of an angle to it. That's how it's supposed to sit, so it can get some airflow through the bottom. Getting in here a bit closer to give you a look at a few things. As you can see, we've got that 13th gen Intel Core i7-13620H, and that's what makes this desktop a bit different. It's a mobile CPU, but it's definitely not a slouch. 10 cores, 16 threads. This unit came with 16 gigabytes of RAM pre-installed. We've still got access to the Intel UHD graphics, and we're really not going to be using those because we've got that NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5060 Ti with 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM. They will be offering this with the 5060 dual 8 gig and a 3050 6 gig, so keep that in mind. When it comes to performance tweaking, there's a little bit that we can do here from Armory Crate. We've got our power profiles down here, so we've got the Windows profile. If you set it to, let's say, balanced, you'll go to balanced mode. Performance mode, turbo, and from manual, edit manual mode. Usually, we've got an option to kind of adjust the TDP, but with this, we've basically only got fan adjustment in manual mode. So I've been leaving it in turbo mode. Aura Sync is also available for the built-in LEDs we have here. And Armory Crate does make it really easy to get updates. So our update center, check for updates. It'll scan through, make sure you got all of the correct drivers. It'll update Armory Crate when one's available. But I've got this thing ready to go, and the first thing I wanted to take a look at were some benchmarks. First one we have here is Geekbench 6, single core, coming in with a 2,473, multi 11,238. Now we've got that 10-core CPU with 16 threads. It's got 6 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. Checking out 3D Mark Steel Nomad, we got a total score of 3,540 and a little over 35 FPS with this test. And finally here, we've got Time Spy coming in with a total score of 15,170. So not bad here for these synthetics, but now it's time to get into some real-world gaming. Looking good, and I wouldn't mind playing it like this all day long. I mean, that RTX 5060 Ti can definitely keep up, especially with a little bit of DLSS 4. And one thing I kept my eye on was the CPU's TDP. Now, I've seen this CPU before in a very mini PC. Obviously, this also came in laptops. It's a mobile CPU. It does look like we've got a boost up to around 90 watts with this 13620H. Average, around 75 FPS, but we can get a lot more out of this just by enabling frame generation. We're still at 1440p ultra settings, but now we've got DLSS 4 multi-frame gen set to X4, and I mean, this is definitely overkill. We're doing over 190 FPS on average with Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440. It still looks great like this, and with multi-frame gen, yeah, there are a couple issues here and there if you look really, really close. But if you're enjoying the game and playing through it, you'll never notice some of those issues. Like when paper's flying through the air, I do see a little bit of ghosting. If I took it to frame gen X2, we wouldn't get as high of a frame rate, but it would still be much better than without it. With this one, we're at 1440p, very high, DLSS set to quality, doing around 88 FPS on average, and man, it does look good at 1440. This is one of my favorite ports over from PlayStation besides God of War Ragnarok. And if you take a look at the CPU usage and even TDP there, you see we're not close to 90 watts. With Cyberpunk, it just requires a lot more CPU. We're up to around 45 every once in a while with it. Not bad. I mean, it does look great like this, and this little CPU is keeping up with the GPU. And the same goes for a game like Mortal Kombat 1. I always like throwing at least one fighting game in. 1440p, ultra high, no DLSS. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't sure how this was going to perform. I know we only need to run this at 60 to get good performance out of it, to have a very playable experience. But I thought at ultra high, it might run into a few issues. Overall, not a bad experience at all. Fighting games on this are going to work amazingly. Black Myth Wukong. I originally tried this with just TSR, no frame generation, and we actually got an average of around 63, but there were some areas where it would dip under. And with the recent update to this on Steam, for some odd reason, the frame generation area in the settings is actually in a different language, so I really wasn't sure what I was setting it to. Either way, we do have DLSS frame gen on right now, but we're at 100% resolution scale. And that's something this card can handle because we do have 16 gigabytes of VRAM with it. And the final game I wanted to test here was Oblivion Remastered, 1440p Ultra with DLSS frame gen turned on. So without it at 1440, high settings, we can do around 72 FPS on average. And you can see over here by the gate, we're up to 130, 140 on average, but if we head out into the wide open, more stuff to render, we've got trees, castles, more NPCs, drops down to around 92 FPS on average. But I will tell you, this game looks absolutely amazing at 1440 Ultra. The last thing I wanted to talk about here were CPU and GPU temps, and one thing I didn't mention is they do offer a different side panel. Obviously, we've got that tempered glass, but they've got a solid side panel with a little bit of ventilation. Not sure how much cooler it would be like that, but through all of my tests, the side panel was on and we're in turbo mode from Armory Crate. Average 1440p gaming temps on that CPU were only 62 degrees Celsius and the max recorded was 73. Not bad, and this is a total custom job from ASUS for this mobile CPU and a desktop. And when it comes to that RTX 5060 Ti, average 1440p gaming, 68 degrees Celsius, and the maximum it hit was 74. So I could probably ramp up the fan curve a little bit over there, but overall, I mean, it stayed under thermal throttle, and it's not too loud either. Overall, pretty impressed by the performance we're seeing out of the T500. And again, I do like the overall look here. I think it looks super sleek. And with this being from ASUS's TUF brand, it is military grade. It's also small form factor. Some people might disagree, and I do a lot of small form factor builds and mini PCs over here. I do consider this small form factor when comparing it to, let's say, one of my main PCs here, which is a giant compared to the T500. One thing I'd actually like to do here is throw an AMD card in here and install Linux. We could run Linux like it is with the RTX 5060 Ti, but if I want to run something like official SteamOS, I'll need a Radeon card, something like the 9070. If I can make it fit, I'll probably make a video, so keep an eye on the channel. But if you're interested in learning a little more about the ASUS TUF T500, I'll leave some links in the description. And if there's anything else you want to see running on it, just like it is right now with that 5060 Ti, let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.